Welcome everybody to another great episode of the Beyond Normal podcast. I'm your host, Kenny Groom. We've been building, having incredible conversations with founders. I actually met our guest today. I saw her profile on LinkedIn, and she is actually focusing on a topic that's near and dear to me, which is mathematics, more specifically, Black girls in mathematics. And so I thought, why not have her on? As we know, the world is going kind of STEM crazy in terms of careers right now, and so mathematics, just with me being an undergrad in that specialty, in that concentration, I thought, why not really dig into that a little bit, because this is going to be an area where we're going to definitely want to see more Black individuals dive into this space, and we got to figure out how to tell the right story with them. So I'm going to introduce our next guest. Her name is Atiyah Harmon. She is the founder of Black Girls Love Math, which is on a mission to exponentially increase the number of Black girls in STEM. They provide after-school enrichment programs and mentorship, and overall, they're just making it, making it cool for Black individuals to enjoy math. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring Atiyah to the stage. How's it going?
It's going well. I'm excited to
I'm
be
good.
here.
Yes, yes, yes. We touched base a while ago. Schedules aligned now, and so I definitely wanted to make sure we connected. Can you tell us a little bit about, prior to starting Black Girls Love Math? Like, what were you doing? What were you focusing on? What were you passionate about?
I think Black Girls Love Math is an extension of that passion. So I have been in education since 2002 and just working in different capacities from the classroom to school building leadership to network leadership. I focused on education equity, specifically in mathematics, and based on those experiences and then doing some larger research, saw the need for an opportunity to solve a problem, which frustrated me, which was Black girls not having the capacity, but not feeling welcomed in the space to strive further in mathematics and kind of checking out. I was a person that stayed in middle school area, so to see the girls be excited to them self-proclaim I'm not a math person just didn't sit right with me. So I sought to create this to kind of solve the problem.
Appreciate that breakdown. And so, since we're talking mathematics, we're going to be talking some numbers, obviously, throughout this conversation. Is there a stat that goes along with this passion and the impact that drove you into creating the organization? Is there a stat out there that you want to highlight?
Sure. The major stat is 2% of STEM careers are Black women. So our goal is to exponentially increase that. And if you think about the exponential increase of 8%, that's still a very low number, but I've met with people who work at Comcast here in Philadelphia, and they're like, yeah, I'm the only woman on the floor using the bathroom. So this isn't like old news. This is current, the representation of the STEM force. So that's where we use to strive our data. That's where we can get our data from.
Got it. That is definitely I guess what we would call like a stretch goal, like you said, getting it up to 8%. It doesn't even really seem that high, right? Like, to your
Mhm.
point, but we understand we got to make we got to make these step increases versus, just one day magically all
And
these problems being solved. It's probably not going to be the case.
absolutely.
So I want to know a little bit about, I think a big part of an organization like this is creating, I guess I would call it maybe like a culturally responsive instruction style, right? So kids, the generation that is now, I believe, are they Gen Zs? Am I getting that right, Atia? Or is there one after?
Alphas, I've heard a lot of them. So
Okay, so yeah, I think you're right. I think we're on Gen Alpha now.
yeah.
Sorry for those who are out there maybe listening in those groups. I don't know all of what we're calling it now, but I think it is Gen Alpha. So they're learning, they're taking in the world differently. They're essentially being born with smartphones in their hands. Even if we try to limit it as much as we can, there's definitely that component there. Like, what are you seeing about the way that they're learning now? that you're having to build into the curriculum and just the way that you're instructing?
It's a really good question. I think that when you think about just being in education so long and seeing how technology is like, and I'm a tech person, maybe not as much as you, but I'm a tech person. We actually don't use tech in our programming on purpose because we started during COVID, right? We started in 2020. So our first pilot of girls was 2021. They still had to be 6 feet with the masks and all that. But there's a lack of interpersonal collaboration that we're very intentional with. As part of our community, we say that we build a sisterhood, collaborative. Don't ask me the problems, ask your sisters first. So the only time we use tech is we'll do a TikTok or Instagram, and then towards the end of our programming with schools, we do a social justice project where they have to find stats and do some presentations. Well, it's not that it doesn't exist, but I'm not anti-calculator or anything like that, but like we don't make tech a strong focus of our programming because it's just everywhere. It's ubiquitous, right? So it's like, how do you make people not have to solve things with tech just in case something shuts down or there's a glitch, right? How can you still cooperate and collaborate?
Hmm. That is that is I'm just trying to think. Like I can think back to when I first started to enjoy math. I didn't have the calculator, right? I had a pen and a paper or a pencil, a number two pencil.
Mhm.
Hopefully they still use number two pencils. I'm not dating
Yeah.
myself. I just remember being able to solve the problem out in my own way, and that was magic to me.
Mhm.
Right, and so to your point, I
Yeah.
understand taking the device away because the device, it hides that. It
Mhm.
hides how do you get there and just gives you the answer, and as long as you manipulate the device the right way, you can always get an answer, but for me, I just found joy in going through I found a lot more joy in going through the calculation and explaining the why myself. So
Yeah. Our girls in Brooklyn, we were doing a challenge. They are brilliant. And I asked them, I'm like, hey, this is pretty heavy. Do you all want to use calculator? They're like, no, no, we don't need any chat GPS. She was like 7. So I'm like, girl, you were saying the wrong thing. But in terms of the ability to write it out and what you see, like I said, I am not a person that's anti-calculator, but especially when you're working with a group and they can see each other's errors, the way they catch that whole aha moment within themselves is less frustration at the calculator and more like, oh, okay, this is where I made this challenge or this error incorrectly.
mhm. And so you just touched on something. I was probably gonna ask this a little later, but I might as well. You mentioned
Right.
ChatGPT.
Mhm.
Let me preface this by saying, as a person who comes from a math background and who has experimented with ChatGPT, ChatGPT is rather stupid when it comes to doing math. Because
Uh-huh.
a lot of times it literally will take some of the things it finds on the internet, and if those things are not mathematically sound, it'll just
Right.
spit answers out at you. So I'm curious, like, where do you or how do you feel about being someone who gives instruction to the future leaders, the future engineers, the future individuals who will be making decisions from a number perspective? Like, how does a tool like Chat GPT, like, what do you think of it being
Um,
an
so I am I won't say like I'm an advocate, but I'm not averse to AI. I've used it. I think it's that first step that kind of lets you kind of just get the basics out of the way, right? So if you're having like a rough draft or anything like that, they can help you. It's not a perfect paragraph, anything, but it can just start those initial juices flowing. So I like to say over the last couple years as we saw like what a year and a half AI just kind of rapidly take over. So now I was at a meeting the other day. Basically, they're eliminating coding jobs for early stage. So like stages years 1 through 3, pretty much an AI generator can do that. So my thought always, even with Black Girls Love Math, is like math is the numbers, but how do you solve the problem? Right? Because it's like I don't need girls to know how to do calculations. That's a waste of time. I need you to be sophisticated enough in your thought process and your data analysis to know like this math means what, how can you interpret it? So AI can't do that, right? AI can spit numbers out, it can read a code, it can tell you what's on the internet, but it can't make that next level sophistication of human process yet that I've seen that shows that there's a different level of understanding and depth in terms of how to interpret math or anything that's number related.
Tia, appreciate you giving us that breakdown of AI tools and how you think of it as an instructor. You said something really important in there, where you're preparing your girls to be able to think critically, really from a data analysis perspective, be able to answer questions, right? And think through it in a way where it's not so important that you have this set way to give an answer. But I see value moving forward when you were touching on those early entry level jobs that are getting removed. Like those are the jobs where they'll almost like expect you to like come in with those skills already, right? But then your girls, if they got this way of thinking critically, they can come in and day one add value to whatever organization they're a part of. And I just think that puts them in a position where, from a career perspective, speaking quite frankly, they can make a crap ton of money, right? They can have successful
Right.
careers because there's already going to be this fascination with a lot of people in the business world when you have a STEM degree. They're like,
Mhm.
oh, you good. You majored in engineering, you majored in mathematics, you majored in something technical. They're already coming to you because you have some of that background, and now you kind of just give them that wow when you're able to come in from day one, do the data analysis for them, right? Because they're business leaders. We get it. They don't want to make decisions. They want to have somebody who they feel completely confident in giving them that number that they need to move the business forward. So that
Mhm.
really puts your girls in a really powerful position. So I appreciate you uh, being receptive to the AI, but then noticing it's not going anywhere. So let me
Mhm.
position those going through my program to benefit from that completely moving forward.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about what has. So we just talked about business owners. This got me to thinking in my brain, like, what are some of the people, the organizations that you're trying to partner with? Like, what has the reception been like? Who are those that have been the most receptive? Maybe even an area where you don't think there's enough people coming to you willing to write you a check or be a partner. Like, talk a little bit about how those partnerships have been as you built the organization out.
Kenny,
I
you
got to
put
see a little smile.
so I will say we've gotten a lot of partnerships from individual donors that work at tech companies, right? So we might not know who they are, but there's certain ways you can set up with your company that they do company matching. So we've gotten money from Deloitte, Comcast, Exelon, Microsoft, and those are people that we usually don't know. The people that we do know that sponsor, we've gotten grants from a lot of local businesses in Philadelphia. Well, like Philadelphia Foundation is one of the major grant makers. We just got a grant from so the Horner Foundation, which helps support our work. As a nonprofit in Philadelphia, there are certain organizations we've already partnered with. We For our after school program, we partner with schools. So when schools had all the ESSER funds, they were coming right away. Now we're working to get grants to help support the schools. But we are working this year with Learn Fresh, which does something called hoops, um, so NBA hoops. So we'll show the girls how to use that, especially as WNBA has finally become popular. Um, we have Philly Youth Basketball, which we're looking at a partnership again with their girls specifically. We have a unique positionality as an organization that we're more academia and we know how to teach black girls really well, but we don't always like we've pivoted probably in the last 6 months that instead of us always trying to get girls to come to us, let's go to where the girls already are and let's just offer our instruction and our pedagogy and our curriculum in a ways that enhance. Like we don't want to compete with anyone, right? Like we have a skill set, you have a skill set. If you have the girls, let us get the work through. So we're still exploring those partnerships in Philadelphia, but right now we have 3 or 4 promising collaborations.
Got it. So let me spin it a different way.
Okay.
And just this is just an add-on. Feel free to answer how you see fit. Is there a dream partnership?
Oh, absolutely. The Girls Opportunity Alliance with the Obama Foundation.
Got it.
Absolutely. That's an easy one.
You were something in there.
That's a super easy one. Of course, we align with. We did a presentation at a research conference with Black Girls Do STEM and Black Girls Math. Black Girl Mathagic was just for profit. So there's an ecosystem now building, and it's something that we just became a part of a lot of Black girls serving STEM organizations, country nationwide and international. So I love when we could all just come up with like a coalition and have events and things like that. From the Black Girls Code to the Black Girls Do Engineering, it's like literally all across the country.
Hmm. Hmm. They're tackling STEM. Like I can see each of the letters in STEM. Like you said, having a different focus, but then there's some synergy across
Mm-hmm.
all the groups, right? And so nobody's stepping on each other's toes from that perspective. Like there's a way to grow the total population
Absolutely.
of people that we have in that space, and we need to do that.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about Black Girls Love Math is at the end of the day, it is a business still, right?
Mhm.
I know people get caught up in the nonprofit versus the for profit, but these are business entities that were created to do a certain objective. Like
Mhm.
what's something that you as leading this growing organization, what's an area where you've had to focus a little bit more just because you haven't necessarily had that experience in the past. Like, tell us a little bit about some of those areas of the business you've been spending more time in.
Lately, fundraising and revenue and building a strong, scalable business model. I'm an educator by trade, so we give stuff away to kids all the time. Oh, you need notebooks? It's okay. You need this, and I'm like, okay, your organization is for. You can't give everything away, and your pricing is a little too cheap if everyone's saying yes quickly. So it's certain things that we've had to like you said, even as a nonprofit, the revenue goes back into supporting the mission. I've had to be humble, but I guess like courageous enough to. I'm not a business person. Can I get a business professional to help me with our models and best ways to scale our organization so we just don't burn ourselves out and shut down. And learning how to fundraise and how to pitch. Like I can teach. I'll teach you. I'll teach your daughter. I'll teach whomever any given day. But learning how to say the story in a way that it reaches different audiences to want to donate and help amplify the work of Black girls is you don't have to change kind of the message. You have to change the way you say certain things to get people to not be it's always a lot of challenges on when you have something specific saying Black girls love math there, and that's from any racial demographic that will challenge that. And it's a way where I've had to learn over the last 4 years to not get angry, but to figure out how to best it in a way that can like supports our girls and makes me be authentic to myself.
I appreciate you for that being candid. That's a really great answer to me because being a founder at the end of the day, you're selling something.
Hmm.
10 out of 10 times as a founder, like I haven't found a business where you're not trying to sell somebody on something. It's hard to tell folks that. But to what you're saying though, right? Like your end goal is the same, but then how you that what's in it for me for people is
Hmm.
going to be different as to why they end up writing you a big check, right? For Black
Hmm.
Girls Love Math. That why they do it may not necessarily be the same why as why you're doing it, but it aligns. And so finding that alignment,
Absolutely.
selling anything that's where the rubber meets the road for me. My time in tech, now with me being on the sales side, that's something that I enjoy. So I appreciate you, Atiyah, for bringing that up on our platform. And I'm excited to see you embrace that actually, because that's something, like you said, if you've never done it in the past, is because teachers end up giving students stuff all the time and then figuring it out later. But you developing that skill now, I can see that definitely being a superpower for you moving forward because you're fully embracing it now. Like I feel like you're in a mode where you ain't afraid to ask for the check. Correct me if I'm wrong though, Tia. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Um, you're not wrong. I'm just on the continuum. Like I won't go right away. I'll get more. Yes, and this is what we need additional funding for. This is how you can invest in us. But getting straightforward to ask for the check in the first minute, I haven't got there yet, to be honest. But that's the goal in the next couple months.
Ah, no worries, no worries, no worries. So tell me a little bit about how has it been building a team out to support you, finding folks as you're looking for dollars. Like you said, fundraising is a big part of
Mhm.
that, what you're doing now. Like, tell me a little bit about how you're going about building out your team so that you can grow this thing as big as you want it to be one day.
Yeah, I think that's probably the part where we've been the most blessed and lucky. I didn't I don't have a problem finding a good team. I have a problem paying a good team.
Mhm.
So we have, like I said, I was a 20-year educator. I was a principal in New York. Black Girls Love Math originated in Brooklyn. And then I moved to Philadelphia to kind of give myself a year off to set up the background. And from my board chair to my former teachers to my everyone kind of just people have told me Black Girls Love Math is me, and it is a letter to my younger self. So it's just like instantly the synergy comes, and I guess they see me like it's Sunday or it's Tuesday morning, and you're working at 6 a.m. Even though I schedule send emails, I think people buy into my passion, so they're able to work harder or work alongside that and inspire. And I think I'm a good manager and a good boss, so I always make sure people feel awarded and appreciated. I respect boundaries. We turn off chat notifications and Slack, all those things. But I think when you think about not necessarily just me, but what Black Girls Love Math is for, is not me, right? It's for the future of Black wilder girls to help. And a lot of people who come to our team, women and men, like with their daughters, but women 40s, 50s have cried and they were like, I don't know why I wasn't in this. I don't know. Like, I wish you were around when I was younger. It's just, it became this part where I was like, wow, I thought I was doing one thing and it actually unearthed this whole kind of like mad trauma and other type of identity issues. So I think the way they'll still, like, I'll still teach, right? So people see me teach, people see our girls, our families. And I think that is a genesis to create people like I want to be behind that. She's not just trying to do it for the show. So I
Mhm.
think that has allowed our team, and we've just been completely honest. We stand by core values. We, break bread and learn each other, but we respect each other as women or men committed to our mission.
Ah, that's dope. That is, I think that tells me that you really tapped in, like you said, those examples you given into like the issue at hand with math. Like you said, you just said math trauma. Like
Mhm.
there really is that in our community at times where for whatever reason, those first experiences that we have at a young age, um, it either it either makes you go away from it completely, or
Mhm.
like it kind of like forces you to like bang your head against the desk a little bit, like, oh, like I'm not getting this. Like those are the experiences that I can recall growing up, and for whatever reason, um, that by the time we're teenagers going to pick what we're going to do next in life, there aren't that many
Mhm.
of us that have said like, hey, I want to take the path of mathematics or anything from a technical perspective. And so you got to ask. I appreciate you for setting this up and making sure you're hitting at like the why for people when you're out there
Mhm.
testing it. And the fact that you've been able to build a team like that really shows that there's meat on the bone, is what I would say. I guess, right?
Okay.
There's
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
we can really chew into here and really like this is a full course meal. What you're working on.
Absolutely. It's like I said, it's telling when you like even myself, I was a strong math student. My mom had to remind me. She was like, you were in a fourth grade math competition citywide. And I was like, oh yeah. What
Mhm.
happened in high school? I only thought you couldn't be an accountant, right? I was like, I don't want to be an accountant. So I went a whole nother way and wound up coming back to the math. But the way in which specifically in our community, I will say, and then there's research that shows like girls' math identity aligns to the mother. So people walking around, I'm not a math person, and I cringe. I'm like, the first thing is just please don't say that because when the check is short, when gas prices go up, like math doesn't always have to be solving these crazy equations, right? So to just center math more logically, in addition to math content will always be math content. We just present it in a way, not just, but we present it in a way that honors and centers Black girls. And that space doesn't always exist. So, and we say it's okay. You can do hard things. Yep. I'm frustrated too. Let's take a break. It's like math has been the only subject that you're supposed to get right away, which everything else you're allowed to edit, you're allowed to revise essays, you're allowed to go back and take a test. If you don't get it right the right way, you're not a math person. That's
Yeah.
just not true. And it's not the way people who do math as a profession work. So how do you like decrease this fear of if I don't get this right, I'm wrong and I'm not a math person. And that's part of our work. So we do a creed in every session just to center the girl's self-esteem.
What is this? Tell me more about the creed.
Yeah, so like call and response, they get in a circle, and it is if I don't know about her, I should be embarrassed. But it starts like I am brilliant, I love myself, I am my sister's keeper, I am a beautiful Black girl, and I love math. It's like I love to learn, I love to grow. So they call in response to that, and it kind of just centers who they are, right? And like you belong in this space, we honor you, you're brilliant, and we're gonna do some math, and you're gonna have fun. Great.
Actually, yeah. I had to take a moment. Yeah, I had
I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. Tia knows I have a little. My our viewers like I have a little one. It's weird saying she's a Black female, right? And so a Black queen, right? I could see like her saying that just now as you were explaining it, and I can imagine what it does for her saying those types of things. She lets me know that stuff a lot of times, anyways. But it's good to hear it
Yeah,
in a setting like that, and I think there's power in saying it as a community for sure.
absolutely. Yeah, every time I hear it, it's one of those things I still get charged up because the
Mhm.
girls are like they all have personality. So then some of the ways they say it, and then we worked with a high um group of Latina girls in Camden, New Jersey. So they said it in Spanish and they would say brown girl. And it's like, yes,
Mhm.
we're all the same people. Let's go. And it was just like, oh my goodness. So it was just beautiful.
Tia, I appreciate you. Coming on the platform, sharing your story. It definitely resonated from day one, me being a math major, right? Me having a daughter, it just, all right, let me see what opportunities are out there for her to connect with some really incredible people. Mine's is still young, too young, I think, to join already, but you've already given me some homework in terms of what I can set her up
Yes.
for success. I got to make sure I do my homework. But
Hmm.
but tell myself and our listeners, like, what's the best way for them to tap in with Black Girls Love Math? What are you looking for right now in terms of support? Like, let's make sure we let folks know about that.
Sure. We are launching our capital campaign September 30th. Our goal is we are officially expanded to Brooklyn. So we started in Philadelphia. We've served 4 cities now. So we want to have a stamp in our capital campaign to increase our personnel in those cities as we train teachers to be able to do our work and push the mission forward. So if you go to our website, blackgirlslovemath.org, you will have options to donate. If you work at any corporation that does company matching, please type us in. We are on there. Everything is legit. So we ask that. And we have social media, of course, if you want to keep up with the daily things or weekly things we're doing. All Black Girls Love Math, with the exception of X, which is BGLM 416.
Got it. But you got what 99% of the platforms on lock. So all right, just Google her and you're gonna find it. Like you said. Atia, I definitely appreciate you. Again, I just want to say that for coming on the platform. I always give my guests the last word. So what do you want our listeners to leave this conversation with?
Everyone is a math person, and Black girls thrive and belong in math spaces just as everyone else, if not more.
Mic drop moment. Thanks for tuning in to another great episode of the Beyond Normal podcast.